Hey, how's it going guys? Welcome back to the channel. Crimsonpanda here with another mercenary meta video. Now, our last meta video we were looking at new upcoming comps to see if we can find a unplayed comp that might be a meta breaker that people don't quite know about just yet. But in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the best comps across all of the MMR ranges due to their highest win rate. And we're going to revisit this video again in 2 weeks time after the Cthulhu event ends, so that we can see what kind of impact Cthulhu has had on the meta. So make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss that video. And let's head over and check out the best comps in the game currently due to their win rate. Okay, so here we are. We have filtered it to the MMR range of the top 50 win rate. And we've got to filter it to a minimum game sample size of 200 so that these comps themselves are actually experienced comps and we haven't got a new one sneaking in there with a high win rate, which necessarily isn't the best comp. It's just something doing fairly well. So we'll start off at the 50% rate. So our very first comp here, as you can see, is the Naga build that Vexia actually came up with. So this runs Elise with Oasis, Queen Azura with the Scepter, Reno with the Treasure, and then on the backline we have Bane with the Totemic Mastery, and Lady Vash with Icy Grip and Icy Grasp, and Tide Mistress Athisa with Warlord Parish. Now this comp is doing pretty well. As you can see, there's been over 1,000 games played with this comp, and the win rate is pretty solid. So 62.9 is kind of where we're at. It's obviously above 50, not too crazy, not too OP, but still getting those wins as well. So we're obviously buffing our bench so that our Nagas can come out with some absolutely huge AoEs. Bane in there for a little bit of protection in the late game, and then just the Explorers, which are just a solid opener with the buffs and with the obviously the death rattles and the bleeds with the Elise. So very good comp to definitely start off with. So if you're above 4,200 and you want something that's quite consistent, quite solid, then this comp is very, very decent. Moving on, next up we have a Frost with a Karen Diablo Sinestra bench. So we haven't seen a Karen Diablo bench in a little while, so it's nice to see that it's making a return. So only 440 games, so this one is still fairly new, but that's still a nice sample size amount of games played to be able to secure a 61% win rate. So we have Frost opener, so Varden with Chilling Amulet, Jaina with Ice Block, and Local Art with the Frigid Wind standard opener. And then the bench is obviously Karen with Reincarnation, Diablo Black Soulstone to be able to keep him alive for as long as possible, and then Sinestra being the solid green unit with the Mana Brooch being able to come in and hopefully finish off those late game blues that they may have not used to defeat Local Art in the early game. So a very solid Frost standard comp there. If you've got these Mercs, then 9 times out of 10 they are probably maxed. So good comp to just get some easy wins. Next up, we have a Shadow comp with Yashiraj. Now, Yashiraj is taking advantage of the Mark of Yashiraj here, so getting the extra damage off the minions, which is going to be benefited by, obviously, Vol'jin. So Vol'jin's Ring of Haste is going to build up Kazakus. Kazakus is then going to summon Golems, which Yashiraj is going to take those for a free speed ability. It's going to take the attack off of them and just do massive damage with this turn 1 play. So very, very solid opener with the Shadow Yashiraj. And then with the bench, obviously, more Shadow synergy with Sylvanas taking advantage of the Kazakus summons as well, and the speed from Vol'jin. And then Queen Azura there with the heals, being able to take advantage of all of those Shadow abilities going off and healing up the party. Cookie there with appetizers, coming in with cheeky little snipes, and also the +9 health is still a very big deal in Mercenaries at the moment. So, and Sylvanas is running Death Volley, taking advantage of the Kazakus, like I said, getting that attack up, either forcing a win out or possibly a tie if you are in the late game and you're struggling trying to get that Sylvanas off to tie it out so you don't lose any MMR. So very, very solid Shadow comp. And just below that, we have another Shadow comp, the exact same one, in fact, apart from it is running a Lich King instead of Cookie. Now, Lich King has obviously been buffed and has a bigger heal Frostbite obviously slowing them down, but I think it's the Death Coil that's going to heal your party and also do that red damage in the late game that you're not going to have because your Yashara will probably die by then. To be able to close it out as well, instead of using Cookie for the snipes, they're using a shadow version of another snipe with the 2-speed Lich King's Death Coil. So very similar, not doing as well, but does have a less game sample size, so definitely showing progress. And then we have the N'Zoth summons with N'Zoth, Cho, and Yulong. So the Eternal Torment, the Satchel Scrolls take less damage for your minions, and then the Jade Fire to buff those minions, and then Sinestra, Cookie, and Malfurion on the bench. Just nature units, obviously Malfurion can heal up, Cookie can trigger those heals and speed up from Malfurion, and then Sinestra there because it's the really good bench green that's going to keep, obviously, dealing a lot of damage, and the survivability on this Merc is big, especially with Yulong buffing it as well. So a nice little summon comp there. 58% win rate, not as good as the others, but still pretty solid. All of these win rates are very close to each other, so every single one are winning a lot more than they're losing. So don't let them further down the list put you off. It's obviously what you enjoy playing as well, which makes you win, having that mindset to be able to push those wins out. And then once again another Frost build here, but with a Tyrande and Blaine Bloodhoof big finisher, though this obviously Tyrande is going to use the Inlu's Grace to double up the AoE with the Bane, dealing 50 damage at minimum, so it'll be 25 each time, but you will get obviously the crits on those greens, which will be 100 damage to the greens, which obviously wipes out the Sinestra, even with the takes less damage from the heal. So definitely a solid finisher with the Frost Opener as well. So that's it for the first couple of comps for top 50. So let's go and take a look at the top 20. Okay, so with the top 20, not a lot has changed. So we still have the Elise and the Nagas dominating the top 20 mark. So this is 7,700 plus rating. So only another like 3,000 extra. And then the same Frost comp just below that. The same Shadow comp and the copy of Shadow comp. I think it's all very similar. This obviously has changed up a little bit. So just the positioning of the Mercs, I think the game is... Oh no, here we go. So the Death Coil restores an extra 10 health with this version with Lich King, and always restores health to this Merc. So instead of the Frostbite slowing neighbours, they have decided to go for the Void, which heals the Lich King a little bit more instead of slowing down the enemy. So this one is more likely using the Death Coil and not swinging in with his first attack. And then just below here, we do have a newer comp, so a Murloc one, 56% win rate with 320 game sample size. So not a lot because obviously Finley is a new Merc, and this is the Nature Buff Murlocs. So I really like this comp. There's a video actually on this comp on my channel, so take a little look for that. And yeah, Finley's just a really strong Merc, especially paired up with Merkite, and even more cool doing the extra healing. It's just a really, really flexible Murloc comp to be able to push out some of those late game wins. I'll run through the equipments for this one actually, so you can see. So Oasis, Ashbringer, and Treasure. And then we have with Finley, it's the one that gives the Murloc plus 10 health, and the Explorers plus 6 attack. And then we got the Rod and the Wand with the other two there. Next up, we have a Valera comp. So first Valera comp, which is in the top 50. So we have Valera with Unnatural Smoke, Trigor with Razor Claw, and Grommash with Halt and Slash. So this is obviously slowing stuff down. And then you're going to be attacking with Valera, which is going to bring out Maestra from her equipment, which is then going to attack and trigger Trigor again. And then they are just using a Frost bench. So I imagine this is going to bring out Valera and just do that really, really annoying freeze, snap, constant stuff. So you obviously got the elemental there with her Belinda's equipment, freezing something at a 1 speed because of Valera's stealth. And then Varden, obviously Band of Frost, because you're going to be freezing stuff, he is going to stack frost damage with that. So a very, very fun and annoying comp for your opponent if you're interested in running a Valera Frost bench. And then we have just below that the Nature summon comp, and then going into the shadow again here with what has changed in this one. So you got the Maestra in this comp, so you're still going to be borrowing attack using your speed, but then once you attack with your Yashara, it's going to swap out for Maestra. So that is obviously a little different bit of a take instead of using the Lich King or the Cookie. So the Maestro is obviously using the Mask of the Mummifier if you want to use that, which is obviously coming off the bench once a Merc attacks. And then we have Dragon Tragor with the Arcane bench. So this is a 53% win rate, 330 game size, not that big, but still good enough. Obviously anything over 50% is going to get you those wins eventually. It might take you a few goes just so you can get familiarized with the comp and what it does. So Nefarian, we're using the Dragonflight to give dragons extra attack, Trigor's Razor Claw for the backlash, Valera's Unnatural Smoke, and then Karen, Tyrande, and Longzin on the bench for that usual nature damage. Okay, so let's head over and check out the top 10 best comps. Okay, so a little bit of a change here. So as you can see, we still have the Naga build right at the top. So the game, obviously this hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is the win rate because of the amount of, obviously, games it plays when it gets to this point. And then we've got just below that, the actual nature summon comp is actually performing a lot better up here. So maybe that is a counter to the top comp. But yeah, definitely obviously improved win rate the higher up you are. So if you're interested in playing that one, then it's definitely beneficial to play it in the top 10 and not in the lower MMR range. And then below that we have the standard Karen Diablo Frost build. So that's actually less games but still showing positive win rate at these higher rates. The Lich King Death Coil comp is doing well up here, so 520 game sample size, 57.7, same as the one above it, and that is doing very well. So instead of the Yashara being in the opener, they are putting it on the bench. So that's very interesting to try and speed up with the Queen of Thissa instead of the Yashara. Maybe this might be a mistake, maybe the Yashara is supposed to be there, but it obviously it's telling us it's on the bench, so maybe it's worth trying that out, bringing up the Queen instead of Yashara on that turn 1 and saving Yashara for the late game perhaps. And then just below that with 0.5 less is the same comp, but instead of Lich King again, it is obviously the Cookie, and the bench is switched up. Yashara is in the opener. And then we have the Murloc comp we talked about, the Maestro comp we talked about, all up here. Anything else that stands out? We have a lot of different Dragon Arcane benches here. So these are all doing fairly well all up here. So we have on this one Reno with Death Rattle. On both of these, this one is running the Dragon style with 6 attack, whereas this one is running Dragons Die Restore 10 health. And then all of the bench is the exact same. So it's just the switch on the equipment on these two, on this one here, which changes it drastically. So by the rating here, it is better to run the Dragonflight with the extra 6 attack. And then on the third one here, we have what is different. Unnatural Smoke, Razor Claw, and starts with 6. So this is actually the same as this one, right? Oh no, of course we don't have Reno, we're running Valera instead of the Reno. So how can I miss that? So it's better to run the Reno than it is the Valera. So even though Valera might be great in stealth and getting an attack on the lowest thing, Reno is doing better via the win rate stats on here. So that's about it then for the top 10. So now we'll just check out the all players, so the total average of most of these comps. Okay, so we have a change in the winner. So with all players, so this can be any MMR range. This is just an average across the board. So the one that was in the top is obviously this one, which is the 62.3% win rate, 1,000 games. But there is a new contender, and that is a Frost with the Tyrande Bane bench. But it looks like what is tipping this over the edge might be the Belinda. So Belinda looks a bit out of place here, but it does summon that Frost Elemental, which can hopefully freeze a slow minion out in the late game, which then gives you the ability to Tyrande and clear up with Bane. not being afraid of that kind of like fast comp, being able to like focus down one of the units to prevent the combo. It is running the Chieftain's Feather, which is passive +7 health. That is obviously for himself, so he can survive a little bit longer, but obviously has the +4 healing power as well, which is huge, which is going to keep your units alive. So if you end up bringing Bane out prior to the combo being able to be active, he can heal up for a lot more, whereas before he would have the totem just to protect something from one attack. So 200 games, but a 71% win rate, which is the highest win rate so far in the game. All of the others are around the 60 mark. So if you are curious about this comp, then you definitely should try it. So we have Frigid Wind with Localar, Ice Block with Jaina, and Chilling Amulet with Arden. And then Tyrande's got the Band of the Wilds, Lesser War Elemental with Belinda, and the Chieftain's Feather with Bane. And then just a few down here, we have the Shadow Yashiraj comp with the Cookie variant, which is 61% win rate, doing really, really well. Then the Frost Current Diablo we were talking about is down here. The Vol'jin, Kazagus, and Yashiraj with the Frostmaw version Lich King, not the Death Coil, is down here. And then we have the exact same kind of comp here, but a few little switch outs. So we have the totem here, so you can see it's drastically dropped with the win rate due to having the totem instead of the heal power. So the heal power must be protecting minions a lot more than the grounded totem is, so I would definitely consider using the feather instead. And then we have the nature summons. And then we actually have an Anaconda down here at 58% win rate. So this is Yulong, Cho, Anaconda. And then we have Cookie, N'Zoth, and Malfurion. So Yulong is running the Jadeflyer Spear, Cho is running the Sash, and Anaconda is running Mendbeast, which restores health to her. And that, I think that is actually the new summon the Anaconda, or summon the Viper, sorry. So that will obviously get benefits from Cho and the Jadeflyer Spear as well. Cookie has the appetizer for extra health. N'Zoth is coming in with a Torment, dealing shadow damage at the start of the turn. And then Malfurion is there healing up as well in the late game, which is a massive amount of healing, with the summons being summoned as well, with the Cookie being able to be nature and the Malfurion being nature with speed is just really good for the tokens. I have a video probably on a very similar comp to this one as well. Very small sample size, but is up here at 58% win rate with that, so definitely worth trying. Another very popular one with 1,000 wins here is the Death Coil Shadow, so definitely a good comp there to go on. So I think that's about it. So there should be enough comps there for every single one of you to have something to play. We will take another look at these win rates in a couple of weeks' time once Cthulhu has been grinded out a little bit and people start using it in comps. I imagine Old Gods will be up here near the top, because I reckon it's just going to be a broken comp and people are going to be trying to figure out how to counter it with some different stuff. So the meta will definitely shift over the next 2 weeks. So make sure you subscribe and you don't miss that video, because it will be an interesting one. So thanks for watching. Have fun on ladder, and I'll see you in the next video.